I never imagined I'd be in a relationship that made me feel like I was constantly walking on eggshells. But here we are. So I met my boyfriend about 4 months ago. We were both autistic, both new to relationships, and at first that made me feel seen, understood. We clicked on a level that made me feel like maybe, just maybe, this could be something special. But things started getting weird, fast. One day, he found an old picture of me online. I used to be goth back then. Black hair, eyeliner, the whole vibe. In that picture, my hair was dyed blue. He fixated on it, obsessed. He started pressuring me to dye my hair blue again, just like in the photo. And it didn't stop there. He screenshotted all my pictures from social media. Yes, all of them. Showed me that he had them saved on his phone. But he didn't follow me. Not even once. He wouldn't follow me, but he'd stalk me, check my activity, keep tabs. He told me to bring all my old goth clothes to his apartment, and like an idiot, I did. But every time I went over, those clothes were in different places. It was clear. He was doing something with them when I wasn't around. I didn't want to believe it at first. I tried telling myself he was just interested in who I used to be. But it kept getting worse. He would snoop through my stuff without asking. No regard for privacy. Then, in public, he'd show me sexualized images of tattooed women, some OnlyFans creators, some random edgy internet girls, and ask me what I thought of their look. "Would you ever dress like this again?" he'd say, smirking. He had kinks. A lot of them. Religious trauma too. And look, I'm not someone who judges, but he was always trying to do BDSM with me, always pushing for butt stuff, and he justified it by saying, "You used to be goth, so I thought you'd be into that." What the actual hell? He'd beg me to show him old goth pictures of myself, then tried to trick me into syncing my Google Photos with his computer so he could access my entire photo library. All of it. And when I refused, didn't matter. I caught him taking pictures of me without my consent and sending them to his family, to his friends. He never talked to me directly about anything serious, but he always tried to trick me into giving up control of my location, my internet, even my finances. It was always manipulative, always secretive. At first, he love-bombed me, called me beautiful, brilliant, said I was everything he ever wanted. But now he treats me like garbage, narcissistic, entitled, controlling. I told him I don't want tattoos, that I'm not going to dye my hair, that goth is a music subculture, not some fetish. But he doesn't listen. Not once. He shakes my world, controls my finances, judges what I wear, where I live. I feel like I'm just a mannequin, a puppet. We never do anything fun anymore. He doesn't like the things I like, never compromises. It's always me giving in, bending backwards. The creepiest part? He's this straight-laced guy, but wants to take me to goth clubs and nude beaches, just to stare at women. Recently, he started trying to control what I eat. He body shames me, calls me fat, calls me hairy. I'm 5'8" and weigh 120 pounds. I'm on the skinny side. But somehow, that's not good enough for him. He wants me to have a perfect body, but not eat. He points out women working out and says things like, "Maybe you should try that." All while he has the hygiene of a raccoon that just rolled out of a garbage fire, doesn't brush his teeth, doesn't comb his hair, doesn't change his clothes, but wants me to spend thousands on my appearance. And then he parades me around like a show pony. Meanwhile, he looks like he hasn't showered in 3 days. It's humiliating. He's classist too. Calls me poor, even though I'm upper middle class. Claims he's wealthy, but never pays for anything. When I met his brother, he shamed me, made me feel like absolute trash and our sex life. It's broken. He struggles to finish, always checking out other women, always distracted. And he acts like a 12-year-old. He's 27. I feel unheard, devalued, criticized, controlled, taken for granted. He's full of shame and guilt, but won't ever talk to me about anything. If I bring up an issue, He either cries or avoids it completely. It's like having a relationship with a ghost that won't stop haunting you. I've tried to leave him, twice, and each time, he cries, sobs, tells me he loves me, tells me I'm the only person who ever understood him, begging me to stay. But I'm tired, I'm done, I feel used, manipulated, and honestly, I'm starting to feel unsafe. I wish I could say it stopped there, that things got better. But no, every time I tried to set boundaries, he found a way to twist them, to make me feel guilty for needing space, for needing anything. Once, I told him I wasn't comfortable with how he handled my photos. I didn't want my personal pictures floating around on his devices. You know what he said? I just want to remember how beautiful you used to look, like I was no longer worth remembering. And when I tried to assert my needs, he'd cry, throw tantrums, tell me I was triggering his trauma, that I didn't understand what he had been through, that I was abandoning him. It was always about him. Always. He'd say things like, "You're the only person who sees me for who I am." But then he'd turn around and try to change everything about me. He hated how I dressed, said it was too casual, told me I should be more like the girls he showed me on his phone. Those girls, they were practically undressed, covered in tattoos and filters, fantasy versions of women, not real people, not me. He tried to convince me to get tattoos, tried to pressure me into wearing heels and makeup every day, told me I owed it to him because I used to dress that way. But I've grown since then. I'm not that girl anymore. I tried telling him that. I tried explaining that people evolve, that I've changed, and I like who I am now. He didn't care. He saw me as a fixer-upper, a project, someone he could mold into his perfect fantasy. And the emotional manipulation, it never stopped. One night, he made me feel like I was the villain, for wanting independence, for needing time to myself, for wanting to work on my goals. He accused me of being selfish, of not caring about his needs, all because I said I didn't want to move in with him. He said, "If you really loved me, you'd live with me." No, if he really loved me, he wouldn't try to control every part of my life. But the thing is, it wasn't just him manipulating me. It was also the way he painted himself as the victim in every story. The world was always against him. His parents didn't understand him. His exes were all crazy. His friends were jealous. Everyone was the problem, except him. And slowly, I started to believe him. I started to doubt myself, to question my own reality, to think, maybe I am the problem. Maybe I am too harsh, too distant, too cold. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was losing myself, dimming my light, shrinking so he could shine. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a puppet, someone who would dress how he wanted, talk how he wanted, act how he wanted. And still, he'd call me manipulative, accuse me of gaslighting. It was like he had learned all the right words from therapy, but used them as weapons instead of tools. He weaponized his trauma, his autism, his pain. Anytime I tried to bring something up, he'd shut me down with, "You're not being neurodivergent friendly." But kindness isn't exclusive to neurodivergence. Respect isn't optional just because someone's been hurt. Eventually, I stopped arguing. I became quiet, compliant, numb. I went along with things just to avoid the fights, the guilt trips, the breakdowns. But one day, something snapped in me. He was scrolling through pictures of women on Reddit, right next to me, commenting on their bodies, laughing, making jokes. And I just sat there, watching, realizing I wasn't a partner to him. I was a placeholder, a body to fill the space until he found someone more aesthetic, more moldable, more submissive. That night, I packed my things and left. He begged me to stay, sobbed into my coat, told me he'd change, that he'd go to therapy. that he needed me. But I didn't look back. Because the truth is, he didn't love me. He loved the idea of me, the fantasy, the version of me that no longer existed. And I deserve more than that. I deserve someone who sees me, really sees me, not just someone who wants to possess me. So yeah, I walked away, and for the first time in months, I feel free. I was calm, respectful, and clear with my words when I finally sat down to tell him I couldn't be in this relationship anymore. I told him straight up that I felt disrespected, that he constantly crossed my boundaries, tried to change me, picked on me, and made me feel small and unworthy. I didn't even bring up the most serious stuff, like how he tried to track me or the way he was exploiting me for the sake of my own safety. Even still, after 2.5 hours of trying to explain my side, I was emotionally drained. My brain was shutting down. My body was tensing up. I had to get out of there. And right as I was getting ready to leave, I noticed something. A little red light from the camera in his room flicked on. I'm pretty sure he recorded the entire conversation. There's nothing damning on that footage. Just me calmly, softly explaining that I couldn't do this anymore. That I needed to leave. That he didn't treat me with the respect or love I deserved. As expected, he cried the entire time. He denied everything I said, every example I gave of his behavior. He tried to twist it around like I was imagining it, or exaggerating. And then, as always, he tried to guilt me into staying. He kept saying how much he cared about me, how much he loved me, how I was brilliant, beautiful, one of a kind. He was throwing out future fakes like candy, saying he wanted to work on our issues, make things better, get therapy together, change everything for me. But the words felt so hollow. I'd heard it all before. I saw right through it, especially after the body shaming. That was the final crack that broke the glass. I told him that shaming someone's body doesn't make them want to be close to you. It makes them self-conscious. It makes them feel disgusted with themselves. It shuts everything down. When I said that, I saw something shift in his face, like he finally realized his actions had consequences. Honestly, I think he had a serious porn addiction. And not just any porn. Very specific, alternative girl content. Goth girls, alt girls, cosplay types. Think Belle Delphine, that whole aesthetic. He saw me as that, not as a person, not as me. He got completely wrapped up in this fantasy of who he thought I was. And when I started to express my real feelings, when I said, "This isn't working," he acted like I was malfunctioning, like I was breaking character. He actually asked me, "Did you hear that somewhere?" As if I couldn't have my own original thoughts. As if I couldn't come to my own conclusions. It was chilling. He was obsessed with the idea that, since we were both autistic, we must be exactly the same, that we must think the same way, want the same things, need the same kind of support. But it doesn't work that way. Autism isn't one size fits all. We are not identical just because we're neurodivergent. I had tried so hard to get through to him. I told him what goth actually meant to me, that it was a music subculture, not a kink, that I wasn't interested in BDSM, that I didn't want to dye my hair or change my body for anyone. But he didn't listen. He was too busy feeding. The version of me he made up in his head. I still can't believe I let things go on for that long. But I guess that's what happens when you hold on to the idea of someone, instead of seeing them for who they really are. I wasn't in love with him. I was in love with the version of him that I hoped was real, and that person never existed. What really opened my eyes was the emotional peace I felt after leaving. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I'd be devastated, shattered, mourning the end of something beautiful. But instead, I felt like I could breathe again, like my body had been holding tension for months, maybe even years, and was finally allowed to exhale. And slowly, I started to notice things. Little things, but things that mattered. My skin. It started clearing up. My dermatitis, gone. My hair, thicker, shinier, more alive. My face had color again. My teeth looked whiter, probably because I wasn't downing. Cups of coffee every day just to survive the anxiety of being with him. I wasn't losing weight, but my fitness improved. My muscle pain disappeared. The constant headaches stopped. I could sleep through the night without waking up in a panic or checking my phone in fear of another guilt-tripping message. He had been draining me, and I hadn't even noticed it until he was gone. They say narcissists are like emotional vampires, and I believe it now. They take and take, feeding on your energy, your love, your presence, until there's nothing left but a husk of who you used to be. But once you cut them off, once you go no contact, you start to grow again. You start to feel again. Vespa, biggest proof, my appearance, my energy, my sense of self, it all came back, slowly but surely. I wasn't that shriveled up, anxious, self-loathing girl anymore. I was me again, and now I look back at the shared memories, and I know I need to let them go. There's this shared photo album from our first trip together. It was sweet at the time, first love, first time, first everything. And part of me, my romantic, nostalgic side, wants to hold on to it. But the rest of me, the real me, she knows better. Those memories aren't pure anymore. They've been tainted by lies, manipulation, and disrespect. And no matter how beautiful the photos are, no matter how much we smiled in them, they don't capture the pain that came after. They don't show the truth. So yes, it's time. Time to delete the album. Time to block him completely. Time to erase every digital string that ties me to someone who never truly saw me. Someone who only ever loved the version of me that lived in his fantasy, and I know it won't be easy. I know there will be nights where I'll wonder, what if? Or scroll through old messages just to torture myself. But deep down, I already know the answer. What if? What if I had stayed? What if I kept compromising? What if I kept allowing myself to be treated like an object, a fantasy, a show pony? I would have lost myself completely. That's what. So no, I won't go back. I won't reach out. I won't second guess this decision because I chose myself. For the first time in a long time, I really truly chose myself. And that's something he can never take away from me.